Firstly, I'd just like to apologise for the lack of content on the channel over the last month. I've had a little bit of time off, I've been away on holiday, and I've then got back and been so busy that I haven't been able to actually do any films. But we're back into it now, and we've got a few things coming up. We've got Audi RS3, we've got a Caterham 170R, amongst loads of other really exciting cool cars. So make sure you subscribe down below, get that over and done with. Right, so this week we're a little bit off-piste. We're in a lovely little hot hatchback. Now this little hot hatchback is an R53 Mini Cooper S. So as you might be able to hear, I don't know if it's coming across on camera, it's got this lovely little 1.6 litre supercharged engine. The whine from this fizzy little excitable engine is just brilliant. Now, I paid under £2,000 for this car. It had done 108,000 miles, it's now done 112,000 miles. So when I bought it, I immediately did a couple of things to it just to make sure that it was going to be okay, because I was going to use it for long distances and for having a little bit of fun in. So what I did was change the rear brakes because the brakes were a little bit squishy. I changed the hoses. I didn't do any of this, by the way. Portbury service station did this. And it had new oil. It's had basically just a little bit of a refresh. So mechanically, it was absolutely spot on. Now, this little R53 Mini is, honestly, it's absolutely brilliant. I cannot believe that you can buy a little hot hatch that fizzes along like this little car for under £2,000. Admittedly, it's done 112,000 miles and it's a 2004 car. So we're looking at, you know, it's pushing on nearly 20 years old. But I think the looks and I think the interior and I think everything still feels really fresh for what this car is. And I can't believe it. Okay, let's go through all of the driving dynamics and stuff first. The driving dynamics of this little car. The ride is pretty hard, it's quite compromised, and but it's sporty. But what you get from that being the case is unbelievably wonderful handling. The steering on this car is telepathic. It's so good, and it's so much better than a load of even the new stuff now that all feel so synthetic and feel much easier. But this one it's quite hard, it's quite heavy, but it's also really rewarding, and you can feel exactly what the front end is doing. It's front wheel drive, obviously. You get quite a lot of slip in the wet if you're a little bit quick off the clutch. There we go, nice little corner, down into second, round she goes. Listen to it, it's a lovely, excitable little engine. That's so playful, and it's quick. It does 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds, has 163 horsepower, and it's just, I genuinely cannot believe that you can get one of these for under £2,000. I remember when they were first new, and they were just brilliant, fun little things. Out on a B road, this thing is brilliant fun, and for the money. What I was going to do with this car was I was going to get it and make it into a little track car, but I haven't done, obviously. The 6-speed gearbox is quite stiff in this one. I don't know if it's stiff in all of them, it's quite stiff, but not in a bad way. The pedals are in exactly the right place for heel and toe. As you lean on the brakes, you come perfectly into contact with the accelerator, and it's just perfectly easy to heel and toe. The gearbox, although is heavy, is very positive. You have to be quite positive and quite strong with it. The pops and bangs on the overrun are absolutely hilarious. I know you can buy very silly exhaust pipes for these. I wouldn't even bother. The one thing I would say when you're looking at buying one of these is the tax is about 30 quid a month. It's quite expensive to tax. Petrol wise, I know we're going through a massive petrol situation at the moment. Petrol wise, not so good. I'm averaging about 28 miles to the gallon. And even when you're in 6th on a motorway, it's revving quite high. It's sort of at 3,500 revs, which means you don't really get that benefit of having the 6th gear to nudge off, you know, some of the MPG. But unfortunately, that's just one of the things you have to deal with. The insurance on this, because it's obviously a very, very cheap car, is ridiculously cheap. I'm 32 years old. It cost me £18 a month. £18 a month for something that's an absolute hoot. The adjustability of this car and the performance and the enjoyment that you can get from it is, I genuinely don't think there is something else out there for the same money. I really don't. The interior has, you know, yes, it's looking old, but it's not old. It doesn't feel like you're in something of nearly 20 years old. It's still quite fresh in here. The exterior, I still think it looks brilliant. It's actually a Mini. It's quite small. The boot is tiny. Don't get me wrong, I could just about get all my camera kit in it for when I need to go places. It's had one little mishap that I would put down to just it being a little bit older. The fan seized, which then meant that I basically had to sit on the M4 for 3 hours on the hard shoulder, which was a bit of a shame because it then overheated, and then actually the pressure release valve did its job and it spat all of its water all of its coolant all over the floor. I filled it up again, it did it again. So I just got back next day, put a new fan on it, perfect, not a problem at all. So little things like that. Mechanically, the engine seems to be really, really solid. Gearbox is really solid. Clutch is fine. It does chew through fuel, but it is good fun. You put some sticky rubber on one of these and go to a track day, and I think you could really upset some of the new stuff. It's brilliant. The stereo is fantastic. Although it hasn't got Bluetooth or any of those mod cons, it's only got CD player and all of that. But if you're buying one of these, you don't really care about that, do you? And I think if I were a 25-year-old or something like that was looking for a really good fun little hot hatchback, I suppose you could call it hot hatchback at the time, but it's sort of a lukewarm hatchback now because obviously the new ones have got 400 horsepower and do 800 miles an hour and things like that. But this one is genuinely obtainable performance on UK roads. On B roads, this thing is an absolute hoot. And who doesn't love to be able to stir a manual gearbox, hear a lovely little whine and pops and bangs from a little supercharged 1.6 litre engine. So I think anyone that's looking for one of these, don't think twice. Go out, find a nice one. The marketplace is saturated with absolute crap ones. Go and find a nice one that's been looked after, like this one, and have a punt. Have it as your third car. Have it as your second car. Whatever it is. If you've got a boring everyday daily, go and buy one of these as a little bit of fun that you could go thrash around a racetrack, and it will reward you massively, and you can learn a bit about these cars. It's brilliant. It really is very, very good.